and Robert F. Kennedy Jr. enjoying some Mickey D's while on their way to that UFC event in New York City. Many criticizing President-elect Trump's pick for Health Secretary RFK Jr. for eating McDonald's.
Well, RFK Jr. has yet to comment on the photo. Donald Trump Jr. has, joking on social media, saying "Make America Healthy Again" starts tomorrow.
But you know what? He was holding the food. Did you actually see him eat the food?
You did not.
Just saying that.
Okay.
Could be a prop. All right.
Okay.
Joining us now to discuss, host of the Dan O'Donnell Show, Dan O'Donnell, and internist for Custom Care Medical, Dr. Frank Contessessa. Dr. Frank, also Dan, great to have you with us here. Listen, I get it, Dr. Frank. McDonald's not necessarily something that is considered a meal or food that people should be eating all the time, especially someone like RFK Jr., who, of course, is very outspoken about the chemicals in our food and all of those things that he is going to be trying to battle. Is this just in good fun? Should people chill out? Or should we have a little warning moment about what actually is in fast food?
Katrina, I loved the photo. I thought it was in good fun. I think people are taking it a little bit too seriously. I love the ideas of reducing these types of foods and getting these foods out of our diets. But you know what? Let me tell you something. If I was on Trump Force One after that fight and they brought out McDonald's and I was sitting with that crew, I would have had the McDonald's too. And I don't eat that stuff. And I want to know this: how do I get to hang out with the cool kids? Because if I want to be part of that group, that would have been a lot of fun. No, I think, listen, everything in moderation, including moderation. So that means what they were doing, they don't call it a cheat, call it a treat. A cheat implies guilt. If you're good at most of the time and all you have to do is take one look at RFK and, watch him do push-ups, obviously he's a healthy guy. He's not going to be very much harmed if he has a Big Mac every so often. So I think everyone's got to lighten up. I really think we have to give RFK a chance and see what he can do, because you know what? The system's broken. Let's see if he can fix it.
Dan, your thoughts about this? I think it humanizes, everybody here. A little McDonald's, a little treat, as Dr. Frank put it. There's nothing wrong with that.
It's been a theme throughout the
well, I
campaign,
think there's
too.
maybe part trolling a little bit there, too.
I wasn't going to say that part.
Yeah, okay. Dan?
You know what it kind of felt like to me, guys, was in order to sit at the cool kids' lunch table, RFK Jr. had to prove that he was down. He had to snort milk through his nose or something. You want to sit with us, Bobby? You got to eat the Big Mac. Come on, Bobby, you got to eat the whole thing. No, as Dr. Frank said, I'm not a big McDonald's guy anymore. Like every American, I grew up eating McDonald's Happy Meals and stuff. But come on, you're hanging out with Trump. He served fast food to the national champion football team. Remember that a few years back? He got all sorts of heat for that. The kids loved it because they probably haven't eaten fast food since the start of the season back in August, okay? This is a guy whose big campaign stunt was working the fries at McDonald's, all right? Clearly, you hang with Trump, you're going to be eating some Mickey D's.
All right. I like it. All right. All in good fun here. All right. Let's get to this. Dr. Frank, again, no rest for RFK Jr. Everyone's checking in on him. The New York Times on Friday, they actually fact-checked RFK Jr.'s claims about Fruit Loops and that the Canadian version has fewer artificial ingredients than the U.S. version. And guess what? The Times found out that RFK Jr.'s claims are actually true. Not sure that that's necessarily the results that they were looking for, but all I'm going to say is I've interviewed Robert F. Kennedy Jr., and we've talked about a lot of the chemicals in food. And I mean, he knows his stuff. He is passionate about it. He knows all the chemicals. He knows what to avoid. I mean, this is something that he has been passionate about personally and professionally for quite some time.
He does know his stuff. I started to listen to him after he was on Joe Rogan, and I was really impressed by his body of knowledge. And I actually went and looked up some of the stuff that he said, too, things I wasn't aware of. And the guy turns out to be right. So it's not just these colorings. There are dozens and dozens of substances that other countries ban. Canada, the European version of the FDA bans dozens and dozens of pesticides and chemicals and things that we put into our food. And they say, why would you put this into your food? These cause cancer. They cause ADD. They cause all these autoimmune problems. Why would you put these into your foods? And the answer is because big agriculture completely controls the FDA and the USDA, and they don't police these chemicals well enough. So let's let him loose. Let's see what he can do. The worst that can happen is that our colors are slightly less vibrant in color, but they'll turn out to be a lot healthier. I think he deserves a chance because the guy's put the work in. He's put the research in. He really does know his stuff, and I think he deserves a chance.
Can we get the list of the ingredients, the post that was up there, guys? Can we bring that up? I want to make a point that they tried to fact check him on saying that, and then it was a double backfire. They listed that Canada had dyes in food from blueberries and carrots, right? And then they also write, while the U.S. product contains red dye 40, yellow 5, blue 1, as well as whatever that is, or BHT, lab-made chemicals for freshness, according to an ingredient label. They were trying to make it seem like, oh, it was kind of similar.
Wait, they both have colors in them.
Yeah, ours sound way different than coming from carrots and blueberries. So clearly, Dan, there's a point to this, and media is trying to spin it some way, but he was right.
Yeah, and look, if you have to butyllate a chemical in order to put it in food, and nobody can either spell or pronounce whatever chemical that is that's being butylated for our Fruit Loops, that sounds suspiciously like mutilated. I'm not putting that anywhere near my body. Yeah, the media is trying to make RFK Jr. sound like a kook, that he's some sort of anti-vax nut job who doesn't know what he's talking about. But the reality is, I think everyone can agree, yeah, there's way too much high fructose corn syrup in American food. Yeah, there are way too many preservatives and artificial colors that do maybe not need to be there. And if we're constantly told as Americans that the European Union does things better than us, why shouldn't that also extend to the chemicals that are and aren't allowed in food? What's the harm in, as the doctor said, making our Fruit Loops a little bit less colorful to get less chemicals in them?
Yeah,
I love it. And Bobby Kennedy Jr. is not even the secretary yet. And look at the conversation that's being facilitated.
I am super excited about what he's going to get done.
Yeah. Dan, Dr. Frank, good to see you both. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And still ahead, a federal court